And then my father approached me and he said, I'm going to set up this property company. Do you want to come on board with me? And I was like, I know nothing about property. And he said, look at what you've marketed so far, all those mad companies that you worked for. And he said, if you can do that, you can do property. I went to Dublin Business School and I chose that degree over going and doing, say, an arts degree in Trinity or UCD. What was pulling me towards the DBS was that third year. I'm going to try and see if I can marry the exporting, the marketing, the language. I would never have gone down that whole kind of international marketing route if I'd gone down the Trinity UCD route. Start on the path that you think you want to go on, and what's for you will happen.
Hello and welcome to the GYFT Show. My guest today is Barbara Nolan, who's the co-founder of M-Space in Malahide.
I'm a mum of 3. I have spent the last 18, 19 years working in the family property industry with my father and my sister. And a couple of years ago, I noticed that there was a lot of solopreneurs coming to us, renting a traditional, maybe one-man office. And, they'd be setting up their new business. And I'd say to them, can your business sustain all the extra costs? Because rent would only be one part of that. So, I'd outline the rates, the Fingal County Council rates, the insurances, the light, the heat, the running costs. I said, have you factored all of these things in? And they go, yes. And quite a lot of people weren't surviving past that year. And they didn't actually need, the space, they didn't need this big office. So I said to Caroline and to my father, why don't we actually take this on ourselves and set up like a co-working space? So my dad's 75 years of age, and he said, no, thank you. It's my time to actually retire now, ladies. But he said, be my guest, off you go, do it yourselves if that's what you want to do. So after a lot of convincing with Caroline, we actually set up a new company called M-Space. And, gradually we were building up our members, and most members had a dedicated desk. I think, after lockdown 1, everyone was like, oh, this is great working from home. The weather was beautiful. We were all embracing it. It was quite nice, all the nice things that came along with COVID. But lockdown 2, we were like, okay. And by the end of lockdown 3, we were like, oh my God, I cannot work. This is what we're hearing. I can't spend 100% of my time now at home. There's no break. I think isolation starts to kick in for a lot of people as well. I thought after lockdown 3, they'd be like banging at the doors to come in, but still companies were still saying to people, we prefer you to stay at home. But look, we're here, we're talking to a lot of people, and we are preparing ourselves to be able to embrace this new way of working. So I hope that's given you probably a lot longer intro to who I am.
Thank you for that answer. May I ask, what did you do with your life before getting involved in the property business and M-Space?
Well, that's a really, really interesting question. I have an incredibly varied career before that. So I did a business degree in college, and in the third year, it was a placement year. And the idea was that you would stay in Ireland for that year. But I had seen this program called the European Orientation Program run by IBEC. And they basically, they took about 80 candidates nationally a year. And you would work for an Irish company, but a company that was exporting. And I had French, absolutely loved France, had spent many, many summers as a student in France. So I wanted to use the French language. Marketing is my background. And so I basically went for an interview for an Irish job. And I just said to the gentleman in the interview, I didn't want to be unfair to them. So I said, I don't think this, I really want to actually work abroad in the export sector. And I said, I've seen this thing called EOP. And this gentleman, Ian Jackson, opened his drawer, took out this big file, and he says, I'm looking for an EOP person for France. So that's what they were doing. And I mean, I had no idea that that's what this company was doing. So went and worked for them, got a job straight out of college, working for them as well. And then started looking after Belgium, Holland, Luxembourg. Then the job expanded again, also brought in the Northern European countries as well. So that was in a tech, they were an alarm company. So I went from the alarm company into a RAID storage. Then I moved to a telecommunications company and then joined another company called MVT. And they did AOI technology. But the funny thing is, so all of them were technology, engineer, setup, engineer driven. And I came in every single one of those jobs to basically bring the marketing side to it. I am the most untechnical person you could ever meet. I still am. Caroline actually looks after all of the back end stuff with MSpace. But I loved kind of putting the marketing feel on, as I said, a technology centric company. And I would put it in English that people would understand. And then my father approached me and he said, I'm going to set up this property company. Do you want to come on board with me? And I was like, I know nothing about property. And he said, look at what you've marketed so far, you know, all those mad companies that you worked for. And he said, if you can do that, you can do property. And that's what happened.
Traveled an awful lot. And I think you're probably a much better person for having traveled right across Europe, France, Luxembourg, Northern Europe. I think it makes you a much more rounded individual and much more cosmopolitan, which is very handy in today's society here in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
What issues are you hearing from prospects who want to use MSpace for work?
In terms of why would they choose it?
Yes.
Why are they going down that route?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are, productivity would be probably the biggest thing that we hear. So if you were to come in, John, for the day, this is what we hear nearly almost every single time. They'll say, I cannot believe the amount of work that I have got done today. You know, I wouldn't get that much done in 3 days at home. Because even with the best will in the world, you know, when you're at home, you know, you get a bit sidetracked and, you know, do you throw out the wash or do you throw on the dishwasher or to start making a bit of dinner for later to get ahead, or, you know, is the TV there? Are you going to just hop on and see what maybe the replay of the match last night, or, you know, whatever. But when you come into a place like ours, you're there to work and they kind of sit down, the headphones go on, and they're very focused when they come in. So I think maybe their lack of focus could be one of the issues, that is making them maybe look at using MSpace. And then the reward for that is a huge spike in productivity. That would be the number one thing. We also have people like coaches, you know, that maybe said it was fine, you know, doing training courses from your kitchen. I mean, we were all doing it, right? But she said, I really want to now come into a professional space.
My next question is, there are any number of co-working spaces around Dublin, and your background is in marketing. How do you differentiate MSpace from your competitors?
Good question, John. And there's more and more opening. I think what we've tried to do, you'll probably find this a little bit hard to believe, right? Because we're quite active now on LinkedIn, for example. But prior to July 2019, we did zero networking. Zero. because all the clients came to us and they came through agents. So we were very much the back end. You know, we had the product, but the agents really got the clients and sourced the clients. So when we moved into this business and we were talking to people and they were like, you need to do some networking. You need to take videos. I mean, I'm even getting a shiver even saying it, how we actually reacted to that. We were like, absolutely no way are we putting ourselves out there, because we'd never done that before. And we had to take a big leap, you know, doing that. But I think what we've learned, and I think what's maybe differentiating us a little bit, we're not just, you know, saying this is a space with desks. We're all doing the same thing, but we've tried to be very personal in our approach. And I think authenticity is actually the most important thing about this. And what we've heard from so many people is, you know, when somebody is looking for a flexible office space in your area, I know exactly who we're going to send them to. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's been the whole pandemic period, and I'm not going to say during pandemic because we're still in pandemic, but I think it's been about nurturing trust and about nurturing relationships and building a network, and, you know, getting people to come in and experience what it's like. And we also really like to promote the people that are members as well. So, you know, we've a couple of people that have taken the virtual office address from us because they don't want their home address. So they've got new businesses starting off, and, you know, it's just not quite right now, but as soon as they give me the green light, I'll be absolutely delighted to do a spotlight on their business and share their business, you know, within our network.
You've been networking for the past 2 years, give or take a month or two either side. What have you learned about networking that has stood you in good stead as a person?
So, as I said, we had done no networking, you know, prior to COVID hitting. We went to our first networking event, which was in the Dublin Chamber. And I'll tell you, we were quite nervous walking into that because, you know, there was a lot of people in the room and it was almost like speed dating for networking, you know. So now ended up meeting some super people that day and made connections on LinkedIn with them. And, you know, they have stayed as great supporters and we're great supporters of them. So what we have, and then as a result of that, there was an amazing lady called Wendy Stunt and Alec Drew that set up a virtual owners network. Now it only actually got a name after probably 6 months. So it really was networking on, you know, another level. So then we joined lots of different ones, like Women Inspire Network, and Samantha Kelly is a wonderful lady that set that up. The three guys that set up Ireland Together, another amazing network. So we've joined all of these networking groups and we've met, honestly, the most incredible people along the way. And I think then, you know, when you're on LinkedIn, you've got that stronger connection with somebody, and you're only delighted then to support them or share their posts or see how you can connect them with maybe somebody else in the field. So it's all about give, because when you give, you get it back tenfold.
And what I found with networking, to be honest, Barbara, is that it's good to make yourself vulnerable to other people, because if you come across as too perfect or too correct, people say, what's the hidden agenda here? When you 100%. Make yourself vulnerable, then they realize this person is human and they'll connect with you.
100%. And it's really interesting you say that. When we take videos and we're telling a little story about whatever, we do it in one take. there's always mistakes in it. There's always giggles in it or whatever. There's mistakes. And, Caroline said, will we do that again? I said, no, because you know what, when you do retake something and it's perfect, it comes off stage. So to answer your question, be vulnerable. Let people see the imperfections, 100%.
You have a property portfolio to manage. You've got M Space, which you run in conjunction with your sister, Caroline. You're married, you have 3 children. You're obviously a very busy person. What do you do in terms of pastimes to unwind and relax?
Oh, do I ever unwind and relax? But skiing is my absolute first love, if you're saying in terms of a hobby. I love actually just getting out and walking. I mean, where we live is pretty magical. We've got the coast road, we've got the beach, we have the castle on our doorstep. So I actually love nothing more than putting on a pair of runners. And I'm not a runner, but I am a walker, and I love, catching up with friends and, out walking.
Your daughter's after doing her Leaving Cert. Based on your life experience, what one message would you impart to your daughter?
Yeah, it was quite the experience going through that with her. And we just actually finalized the CAO and final submission with her last week as well. And I think we felt the same when we were doing our leaving. Nothing has changed. You feel, if you don't get one of these options, your life is over. There are so many ways to get to where you want to get to. And, you're trying to say that to them. It may take a little bit longer, but, start on the path that you think you want to go on, and, what's for you will happen. Like I explained to her that, I went to Dublin Business School, and I chose that degree over going and doing, say, an arts degree in Trinity or UCD. And I would have preferred to have gone to UCD or gone to Trinity and, had the whole big campus experience, but the courses didn't interest me. Whereas what was pulling me towards the DBS was that third year away. But it wasn't away, it was supposed to be in Ireland. But I went, I'm going to try and see if I can marry the exporting, the marketing, the language. And I've said to Lara, I would never have gone down that whole kind of international marketing route if I'd gone down the Trinity UCD route. So I think, the world is her oyster.
What does the future hold for Barbara Nolan and M Space?
So Caroline and I would love to have multiple M Space. It was funny when we actually opened in July. We had designed, the layout and the colors, and I loved so many different colors. I already was on the next one in my head, because here's the marketing interior kind of design end of, my loves. And, the next one was going to be maybe purple or something. And Caroline says, relax, let's get this one full first. And a guy walked in on day one, and we had 8 desks in the middle. And I said, oh, are you looking for one desk, or what are you looking for? And he says, oh, I'll take all 8. So with that comment, I was already, I'm on the next M Space. And then literally it all slowed down, and it wouldn't have been the right thing for him to come into a co-working space like that, because they would have dominated it. And you want to have more of a mix of people. Do you know what I mean? It's not to have all IBM or all Hertz or whatever. If the other people might feel they're a little bit elbowed out. But now that everybody is looking at this hybrid model, we've had a lot of approaches from people saying, when are you going to open in Bray? When are you going to open in Hope? And we are being approached by people to look at spaces and to expand. So as they say, watch this space. we would love to have more units, but we will take a calculated, measured, approach to this, because, particularly at the moment with Delta variant and all these lockdowns, you need to have you need to have strong will to kind of get through all of these lockdowns and, stay afloat. So, but please God, that is the direction that we would like to go in.
What offer do you have for the audience today?
Yeah, John, we spoke about this at the beginning, and I think there is no better way to see if the hybrid model will work for you than to actually come and try it out. So what I would like to offer your listeners today is that they can contact either Caroline or I at hello@nspace.ie, and they can come out and have a free morning on us to try it out and see what they think.